Hello and welcome to this episode of Kennedy Saves the World. It's probably my favorite happy hour of the year because it's the Friday before St. Patrick's Day, which it truly is an international holiday that should be celebrated in all of its forms, not just with corned beef, cabbage, and red potatoes, as we make traditionally every year in our household, but also with parades and celebrating all the delightful Irish people who are in our lives. So, for years, there was an institution that shared a block with Fox News called Langan's that was so frequently tippled by Fox News folks that it was lovingly referred to as Studio L. And a few years ago, Langan's closed down, and my heart broke into a thousand pieces because it was one of those wonderful, familiar, great Irish pubs where, like Cheers, you would go in and you got to know people there, the bartenders and the wait staff and the owners. And so it was heartbreaking to see Langan's go away. But like the first buds and tulips of spring, Langan's has pushed through and has reopened on 47th Street. So if you are in New York, if you're visiting, if you live here and you're close to the Diamond District because you're going to pop the question, or you're a block away from Times Square, you have to go find your way to Langan's because the place is immaculate. They are in a slightly different spot, just, on the exact same block. And you can go there and probably see some of your favorite Fox News friends. So, having said that, the owner of Langan's joins me in studio. Des O'Brien, welcome to Kennedy Saves the World.
Thank you, Kennedy, for having me. Look forward to having a conversation with you.
How did you guys come back? I mean, it was devastating. It's like when your favorite TV show is canceled and then people cause a stir and a mini riot and they bring it back and life is right once more.
Well, as you know, as you rightly said, we were somewhat of an institution for 25 years, which is good innings for any bar restaurant in New York. And then we fell into, obviously, a dispute with our landlord at the time, and the rent just went skyrocketed.
You hear that story so frequently, and it makes no sense because then these places are empty and the clientele goes away.
Until the next fool comes along, I think, and rents it. It just seems to be an ongoing sort of battle between tenants, landlords in New York. It seems to be most of the way. There's some really good landlords out there, and we got a lot of really good assistance and help throughout COVID with landlords that probably we mightn't have expected to step up to the plate to preserve us and keep us in business and so forth. So overall, it's just the way of the world. But in the old Langan's was, there was a couple of other issues. And one was, as you know, there was going to be major construction going on in the street, which would have been massive disruption for years down the road. And, and then the building itself was in disrepair and needed a lot of work. So combined, it would have taken way too much money, and then the risk of trying to operate at a much higher rent when you have, as I said, the disruption with the Palace Theatre shut down for renovation, the Doubletree Hotel was shut down, and then there was the Rio was being built. So there was, and that we were trying to tell the landlord at the time, we were going like, let us get through the next 4 years of what we're at,
and then we can reassess. The only green you want going out the door are these drinks. So tell me the cocktail that you have made to celebrate the St. Patrick's Day, Des.
Yeah, well, I didn't make this cocktail, but my mixologist, special, very creative individual, Emily Loughran, came up with this with a few other aptly named drinks celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and this one is called the Emerald Isle.
Nice. What do we have in it?
It contains a brand of vodka called Sausage Tree Vodka, which is distilled in Ireland. We also have cucumber, habanero pepper, arugula, and Irish honey, and then there's some botanicals mixed in there. That's a secret ingredient.
We can't say what the botanicals are, but
so no, we can't.
Yeah,
no,
but they're in there.
Yeah, they're in there. Yes. So we'll say slánta.
Well, cheers to you.
Yeah,
Slánta.
thank you.
The Emerald Isle. Oh yeah.
Now you got me started.
I've got some salad.
Salad, yes.
In my maw, but this is awesome.
Yes, and a nice.
This is a powerful, like, yummy, balanced drink that would really complement any sort of St. Patrick's Day revelry.
Well, that's good to hear, and that's what we're trying to create there. And there's just you get that honey
No,
habanero
I like the
pepper.
spiciness.
There's just a nice balance between
Yeah.
those two, so it's good. And this is the age we live in too. As you know, the new Langans is very contemporary. Not
It's beautiful.
we've held on to a certain feel of the old Langans with the wood paneling and the mirror and that end of it, but we've also brought it into like the modern 20s, as I say, to cater to the you know
But it feels like the
less
1920s.
older crowd.
It feels like we're in the Great Gatsby.
It
when
does
we
have
go
that
inside.
feel. It does
Yeah.
have that feel to it, and and we're now in this modern era where it's like the focus is on the experience, how you get out there on social media with, like say, TikTok and Instagram and Kennedy, of course, and and people want to see what you're about and the whole thing. So you have to, like they say, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yes.
And this is the modern day market that we're dealing with, and it's exciting because, as opposed to maybe when I was starting out, which was so many years ago, the it was much simpler. So there's a craft and there's an art and
Yeah.
there's a science to
And you
what
can
they're doing.
overdo it. Like you can go
Can
too
overdo it.
far in that one direction, but how do you create a place that people feel connected to, that feels like home in a city of 10 million people? Like how do you create that connection? Because I mean that's the lightning in a bottle, and that's the difficult thing. But that's certainly what people feel when they go to Langan's, especially on a regular basis. Like there is something, and I don't know if it's the chemistry and connection that you all have who work there, and you just do a really good job of hiring people. But there is something so unique about that because you go into a lot of these places and they're kind of faceless and soulless.
And that's kind of the answer to your question. Is I think at the end of the day, anybody can really put together an operation has great food, great ambience, great atmosphere, great drinks, and doesn't have the right people. And it's a people's business
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So anybody. One of the things that I learned starting out was you have to appreciate who's actually feeding you at the end of the day. I had to be sound so basic about it, but that's how I make my living. And you want to make people. You want to appreciate that and respect that, and make people feel they belong. And again, as you said, the old Langans had that kind of ring of Cheers about it.
Yeah.
And that was the whole ethos of Cheers, was the friendliness. You got to know all the people, everywhere. Everybody knew your
It's a
name,
cold
right?
city,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're welcome there.
Correct.
And is that what all of Ireland is like? I've never been to Ireland. But is that the vibe? Like you walk into a place and because you've been to countries where people are cold and they don't really want to get to know people from out of town, but from what I've heard about Ireland, it's one of those countries where you go into any restaurant, you go into any bar and you can strike up a conversation and people are genuinely curious about your travels.
Absolutely. And my question to you is, why have you not been to Ireland
I
yet?
don't know.
With a
I
name
don't
like
have a good
with a name
reason.
like Kennedy,
I
you haven't
know.
been.
So I'm half Scottish. And I went to Scotland last year for the first time, and it was awesome. And the whole time I was there, I was like, I have to get to Ireland.
Well, the Scots and the Irish are both Celtic.
Yeah.
The only difference is they both like to drink, but the Scots don't like to pay for it. Just getting back to what you're saying, you certainly rural Ireland. You have that. That's kind of it's a community thing in Ireland, and a big town in Ireland is 10,000 people, which is small, and people everybody knows what everybody's about and so forth. But there's all that friendship, camaraderie, and they love to talk,
Yeah.
which on top of everything else. So that's kind of the spirit, and it's not so much now in the bigger cities like Dublin is it still has its old world charm, but it's kind of just the modern cosmopolitan city. And
What about Galway?
Galway is actually very interesting, full of tremendous heritage in Galway, tremendous history. It's part of the whole preserved. I won't say preserved is the right word, but Irish-speaking, Gaelic-speaking areas, and just a magnificent city to you'll walk around it in a day and take it all in and so forth. People are wonderful, and
Don't go anywhere. More Kennedy Saves the World right after this.
I was told to go there. I would like to go there.
yeah.
But, since I can't go next week, I'm going to go to Langan's on St. Patrick's Day. So how do you St. Patrick's Day appropriately in New York City? Because, I see younger people, they look like they're still in high school, and they get over their skis and they barf on the sidewalk. And that's not good. But how do you keep the magic alive without adding to the vomit?
Well, the vomit has actually taken care of itself. There's been a bit of a sort of a metamorphosis of some sort since post-COVID. And of course, I think the first official big parade after COVID was maybe 2022, and you see less younger people around the parade in Midtown now than you used to. And they now seem to converge downtown and FIDI and have kind of, I'm not sure you're aware of this, and I'm involved in 3 locations down in Stone Street, and we will be packed there this coming weekend with all the younger element.
All right, so is Times Square, is this area still full of people because the parade
Oh yeah,
is right
absolutely,
here?
yeah. But you'll see less of the younger people who kind of keep going.
Yeah.
And it's terrific. It's what they've created downtown is like Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
It's like their own little getaway from
Sure.
maybe the stuffiness of the parade and all the lads going around with their sashes and all that sort of stuff, and they're kind of, all right, we're here to party, blah blah blah. And certainly there's enough bars down there in like that long strip on Stone Street, so it's it's good. And here we're going to do our usual. We'll feature some Irish food on the menu. We have a slew of different.
And it's your
cocktails
first
with
St.
cricket.
Patrick's Day back.
Correct. Yeah. And. Yeah, we're looking forward
God
to it.
help my liver. I'm really excited about it. I mean, we may have to broadcast from there because it really is such an institution. I feel like people are going to be so excited to get back to Langan's, and it's like they can do an Irish pub crawl in Midtown and have a great time. And I hope they end up at your place. I hope they do a little comparison and they see like there's definitely some goodwill to be had, but there's something so magical about your place, and there's like the vibe that you guys are back. I cannot tell you how excited people are because it takes a while for people to realize that they can reconnect with something that they hold so dear.
Yeah, well, I was just over there at lunchtime today, and about 3 or 4 old customers that I haven't seen since Langan's closed down came in just by chance today, and they're beginning to get the word is out there and the whole thing. And St. Patrick's Day, I have several customers that had a tradition of booking in for lunch or booking in for liquids. So we have a few of those already in the book for Monday. So it's coming back, and it's.
So I have celiac disease, and I always read like what are good places to go if you have celiac. Do you know where the highest concentration of celiacs in the world is?
New York,
Ireland.
I
had no idea.
Yeah.
So, but you guys have so much gluten.
Yeah.
You have so much gluten, and it's like your corned beef is made with beer. Like you pour beer in there, and that's what makes it delicious. But I wish they made, because gluten-free beers by and large are not fantastic, and I miss Guinness so much. Like once every 3 years, I'll have a tiny sip of Guinness, even though it makes my stomach miserable. But I wish they made like a good gluten-free Irish stout for all the Irish celiacs.
Well, you might need to talk to Guinness about that. And
Yes.
Oddly enough, like I believe an alternative for you could be
Whiskey?
cider, like apple
Cider's
cider.
fine.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different drink.
Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, but
I prefer.
Yeah.
I would rather have Irish
Yeah,
whiskey.
and as you say, like the thing is, you're used to the pint of Guinness. There's nothing that compares. No, and even Guinness makes Guinness Zero now, and
Yeah.
they have. I think they've a couple of other.
They do have
hybrid products.
alcohol-free Guinness.
An alcohol-free
Because
Guinness.
Dana Perino's husband brought some over for Super Bowl.
Yeah. In fact, the alcohol-free segment of the market is the fastest growing part of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it seems to be.
Have you embraced that? Do you sell?
We're selling it, and I was reading something just recently where the makers are now forecasting like 6% growth in that segment of the market this year and 8% next year. Wow. So a lot of younger people. What's happening is, like, say for instance, say something like Heineken Zero.
Mm-hmm.
So people, we've started seeing it. People will have a bottle of Heineken and they'll follow that with a bottle of Zero, and then they go back and have another bottle of Heineken. So they're sort of pacing themselves. And it seems to be part of that younger culture,
Yeah. No, it's like there are a lot of people who are sober curious.
That's
and
a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah, and they know that they sleep better, it's better for them, it's better for your skin and all that.
Yeah.
But they still want the taste of alcohol, and it turns out they still want the alcohol, just less of it.
Yes, less of it. So, and as I say, the indicator is that it's the fastest growing segment of the market. So we're
What's your favorite thing to serve on St. Patrick's Day, food and drink?
well, generally you can't get away from not having corned beef and cabbage, bangers and mash, fish and chips. On the food side, maybe Irish stew as well.
I mean, that's good because it absorbs everything.
Well, it's comfort food at its best, and as you say, it absorbs. And on the drink side, it's definitely Guinness and definitely some brand of Irish whiskey.
What's your favorite Irish whiskey?
I actually like. There's a whiskey called Redbreast. And if I remember correctly, I think it's part of the Jemison family.
Okay.
And I'm not a huge whiskey drinker, but if I do drink whiskey, it's like a peaty, how do you say, like Redbreast has a touch of honey in it.
Oh, that's
which
nice.
kind of just takes the super kick out of whiskey. And like the peaty ones, like Macallan or something like that, it's just, to me, it's nice. It's nicely, it suits my taste buds.
What is superior, Scotch whiskey or Irish whiskey?
Well, the Scots, in all fairness, I have to say, the Scots have perfected the art of distillation, and their rules with regards to everything to make a Scotch has to be Scottish, not so much with the Irish whiskey. And I think they have certainly. I mean, the folklore has it that monks from Ireland brought the distillation process over with them to Scotland back in the 16th century, and gifted them the distillation ability. And they have perfected and marketed the whole thing. Now, having said that, the Irish whiskies have become a lot better. There was a time when you just had like 3 or 4 brands of Irish whiskey on the market, like your Jameson, your Bushmills, Powers, Paddy's, and now you have a myriad of them. And there's pot stilled and single this and single that and blah blah blah. So they've caught up, and again, I don't know if it's currently the same, but I know a few years ago that was the highest grown whiskey segment was the Irish whiskies. And I go into liquor stores and I see this brand and that brand. I'm going like, never heard of them before. Yeah. They're just shooting them out like a dime a dozen, and we're not even getting sales reps coming in and asking if we want to put these on our shelves. So they're just going straight to the off premise, getting them on the shelves in the liquor stores and the whole thing. So it's it's funny, but obviously being an Irish guy, I'm going to say, well, we originated the distillation process. That's kudos to us, and we're catching up with the Scots very fast.
Well, you have great whiskey, and now I know phenomenal vodka as well.
Yes, indeed. And, it's like anything else. The ingredients are all there. It's what you do with them in today's day and age. And we don't overdo and overkill the mixology part. We have a nice balance. You have your standards. You have a touch of mixology. And we have great, fun, friendly staff that just wants to make anybody's visit.
No, but that's what makes Langan special. Like you have all the ingredients of a great establishment in New York City, but it's what you do with it that makes it legendary.
Correct.
And I'm so delighted that you're back open. I can't wait to see you on St. Patrick's Day.
Delighted to be here, and just on my way over, I was reflecting on your closing when we closed down in your show that you did. A fantastic send-off for us on our final night, and all I can say is I hope it's 25 more years before you have to do it again.
Amen. At least that.
If you have to do it again. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you. Slánta.
Slánta.
Okay.
Des O'Brien. This has been Kennedy Saves the World. Along with Des and everyone at Langan's, I'm Kennedy.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app. Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.